Welcome back, everyone, to another Spot On Chat. I'm Rebecca Monet. I'm with Zorakle Profiles. We provide profiling tools for franchisors and franchise consultants to help facilitate a right fit between a prospective franchisee and a franchisor. Speaking of franchisors, I have with me today Robert Bruski, who is with Control V. He is the CFO over there. He's Mr. Idea Guy and Mr. Passion. So good to have you back, Robert.
Yo, what's shaking, Rebecca? Great to be back.
Oh my gosh, you are so much fun to be with. So I do have a quirky, odd question for you. And maybe this has to do with my age, where I'm looking back and I'm looking at what I want to leave behind. But I call it my if only or what if question. Do you have anything that you just say, if only I could teletransport, or if only I hadn't done that silly thing 20 years ago? Do you have anything like that in your life, and can you share it?
Yeah, so for the most part, I try not to think of if only. I try to think of what if. So I think future-based rather than past-based. And I believe that I'm in that mindset is because I truly try not to regret anything, because at that particular moment when I made that particular decision, that's what I wanted the most. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made that decision. That's how the hierarchy of decision-making is, right? So I have gotten everything that I wanted in a twisted sort of way,
Yeah.
So I always think about what if, but the problem with what ifs is there's so many of them, and you could keep going, but I'm going to kind of flip this question on its side. So before I got into the entrepreneurial world, I was working downtown Toronto on Bay Street, so the Canadian version of Wall Street. I loved it there. We were a buy-side investment management firm. And we kind of did like Warren Buffett style investments. So long-term, you really get to know the company well. You visit their management, see their operations, read all of their financial reports, etc. And there was a huge series of events that transpired in the economy and in the company and amongst people there, nothing to do with me, but it eventually led to me leaving that industry and going into entrepreneurship. Yeah, I know, right? And I'll tell you, like, I miss it, right? Like, I really miss sort of the deep analysis on some of these companies and stuff like that. But every so often somebody says, if only that didn't happen, you wouldn't be where you are. Like,
Yeah.
what if all of that didn't happen? You wouldn't be this, and they often use the word successful, which I do not think I am, but you wouldn't have reached this level of notoriety or whatever. And my response to them is always like, well, how do you know?
That's right.
I've done what I've done because it's me, and I would have applied that grit and moxie and that work ethic to any situation, so this isn't some random twist of fate that I'm here with Control V
Oh my
or
gosh.
all the things. It's because I worked my tail off. So if all of these things didn't transpire on Bay Street and I was still there, there's no reason why I would just be like a lowly level analyst or a portfolio manager that likes to talk about and invest in great businesses rather than build one. I would apply every ounce of my personality and my moxie to make my way through there. And who said I wouldn't have been the CEO of the Toronto Stock Exchange? You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I think about that. Like, is it a pivotal point that changes your life? Maybe, but I think a lot of it has to do with how you influence it. I don't know that I have an opinion on the concept of fate, but I'm uncomfortable with the fact that I'm not in control of the future. I know the future because I will make it happen.
Wow, I love the way you looked at that. Instead of allowing fate to determine where you are going, no matter what, you would have become successful. You would have had a certain level of notoriety. Years ago, I read a book called The Acorn Theory. And this is when I was in private practice and working with entrepreneurs to help them get through the gray matter in their head and what was preventing them from being successful. So in my private practice, all I worked with was business owners, and to look at inside what was going on that kept them from achieving what they wanted to achieve. So I read this book called The Acorn Theory, and it kind of goes along with what you're saying, is if you are, a seed, an acorn, and you plant it here, or you plant it there, or you plant it there, no matter where, when it begins to grow, it's going to be an oak tree. It's not going to be a petunia, right?
Yeah.
That's not. So it's who you are and the character that you have: hardworking, tenacious, willing to go over obstacles, future-minded, focused, tenacious, all of those ethical, principled. That's who you are. That's what that acorn is, and you're staying true to it. So it
Yeah.
really doesn't matter where you were planted or how much you got knocked off course, or at least it might have looked like off course. You are going to be a mighty oak.
Exactly. There's right now, especially during all this COVID-19 stuff, people are saying crisis builds character. And I like to think crisis exposes character. You know what I mean? And so when I'm talking about building character and how this how you define yourself, I'm always thought of the fact that sometimes people tell me, when you're drunk, when you're intoxicated, your true self and your true character comes out. And I'm thinking to myself, that sounds so backwards and so counterintuitive. When you are drunk or intoxicated, you have no self-control. Anything comes out. Your character is the bounds and the confines that you've built around your moral compass and what you do and how you treat people, which requires like a clear mind to enact. So I think your true character comes out when you're not drunk, when you're not inebriated or inhibited by whatever, right? Which I guess, again, is sort of, contrarian, as most people would call it.
No, I tend to agree with you completely. And character is so important in life and in business, and staying true to those morals and those values that you hold dear, and that every decision, every behavior, every response to a situation, including the Wall Street of Toronto, everything it comes from that character. So it's like you could have been a victim, considered yourself a victim, woe was me, sucked your thumb in the corner, whatever. But instead you're like, boom, okay, my character is to do what's right and best. These are my values. And you just move on. And I agree with you. The character should be what we live day in and day out by, and every decision we make comes from that. We don't compromise that.
Yeah. I'm a classic rock kind of guy. I really like, my favorite band is Led Zeppelin, and recently I'm really into Dave Matthews. But some of the most inspiring music I find is in hip hop. Okay. Like, I mean, different levels of hip hop, like you can associate it with differently. Like stuff from Europe, they sing about like alcoholism and unemployment, right?
Right.
Here you'll get songs about getting shot in the hood, which, I mean, I don't know about.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Right.
But some of it is so inspiring. It's filled with vulgarity oftentimes, but the message behind it just leads me to believe that, like, I didn't choose the thug life. The thug life chose me.
Wow. So that's, yeah. Wow. So there's again, that nurture versus nature argument in the world of science, behavioral sciences. It's an argument that comes up all the time. And the question of destiny, fate versus I create my own reality. I'm responsible for me. Those are things we're battling with every single day. Am I who I am because of the following things, or simply because that's who I am and the environment responds to me? I'd much rather believe what you believe, which is I'm in control of my future, and my skills and my giftings and talents, God-given talents, as well as my decisions and values will have my future unfold deliberately, consciously, and ethically.
Yeah, I think whether somebody is in control of their future or not in control of the future is probably more of an existential question. And you can get into religious conversations and things like that. But regardless what the absolute truth is on that, believing that you are in control of your own
Yes.
future, I think has fruitfulness to it, because you will never, or you should never, just concede and say, well, it is what it is. Can't really do anything
Uh-huh.
about it.
Yeah. Well, I would prefer to believe that I'm a co-pilot to God, and we're driving the same direction. My will and his will are the same direction. So we're going to get there. We're going to get there in style.
Awesome. Yeah. I dig it. I dig it.
All right. So once again, thank you, Robert, for spending time with me this afternoon. I know you're busy. I cannot even imagine what all you're up to, and I so appreciate your time.
I always have time for you. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.